Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Across My Heart. I hope you enjoyed that introduction so much because I am about to tell you essentially what went down. But first and foremost, it is a beautiful Sunday morning. We've got some hot weather going on, and Les decided to take her yoga mat down to the beach here across town just for some added tranquility. Again, she lives by the docks. It's reasonably quiet. It's a little bit more hustle and bustle than maybe is preferred. So she thought that this would be a really, really nice way to get in some quiet time and practice some yoga. So this will give me an opportunity to walk you through. Now her friend Tiani showed up at her doorstep, and this was a bit of a shock. The reason as to why she showed up, it was really just kind of a coincidence, but Les had reached out, of course, as we saw, and it was basically like, hey, I've been thinking about you, wanted to reconnect. They had an okay conversation on the phone, though it was brief, and then Tiani showed up on her doorstep, and the reason is because she is actually in town working with the local historical society to try to preserve the lighthouse. That is her profession. That's what she does. And this is a very temporary assignment. She knew that Les had moved to Brindleton Bay, so she immediately looked her up, ironically, right around the time that Les reached back out to her. Now, these two, again, were always so incredibly close, but a very traumatic event occurred in Les's life that resulted in the two of them just kind of drifting apart. And what happened is Tiani knew that Les needed time to process. She needed space, so she didn't want to overburden her with support and shower her with all of this attention and whatnot. But on the flip side, Les didn't want to burden others with her problems, and therefore she tried to isolate herself a little bit, even from those in her life that she loved very, very dearly, such as Tiani. So that's kind of how that all went down. They had great conversations yesterday evening. Tiani is staying in a rental kind of in the neighboring town. So they might visit one another again. They didn't really situate if they were going to spend too much time while Tiani's in town. Les does want to spend more time with her, but they want to kind of take things slow. Again, this somewhat sounds like a romantic relationship, but truly, they're just trying to see if their relationship still has some validity for the future and moving forward. You saw in the end scene, they kind of fell asleep cuddling one another on the couch, as all best friends do, right? We just have to admit it. I've certainly done this before. But yeah, they're not really sure if their friendship is rooted in the past or if they really have a foundation to move forward. So that's what they're going to try to explore a little bit more potentially while Tiani is in town. And look who Les ran into on the beach after concluding her little yoga routine here. I love this. She actually just learned that Jude is a waiter, of course, at the Lobster Pound, which she already knew. He is a loner, and he is single, but he just struck up a conversation. He was like, hey, don't you come to the Lobster Pound like every single week? And she was almost a little embarrassed, just saying, I mean, yeah, I do. He's like, yeah, I've definitely seen you there. I think I served you once or twice. Are you new to town? Because I think that Jude, now I don't think he's necessarily originally from Brindleton Bay, though of course we don't know, but he seems to be very familiar with the town and everybody who lives here, and he could pick out Les as a newcomer like a sore thumb. But they seem to be hitting it off really, really nicely. And I think that this is really great for Les too, because remember, she's kind of exploring her sexuality, as I mentioned in episode 1. She's always been somewhat attracted to those who identify as male, and she has somewhat been attracted to those who identify as female as well, but she has a very, very strong attraction to Jude, and since he approached her, she kind of wants to explore it and really kind of see if anything comes of it. So I think what we're going to do is compliment his appearance, maybe get a little bit flirty here, talk about the sunny weather, of course, even though it's becoming early evening. We've been here pretty much all day, which is kind of nice. I think she needed the chance to unpack the conversations with Tiani and just kind of wrap her head around the fact that she's here and accessible and that they can see one another. I think we're going to have her confess her attraction. It could go very poorly or really well. I don't know. We're just going to kind of take that chance. And we did it, and it went perfectly fine. I am thrilled by that, actually. You never know sometimes with The Sims, you know what I mean? You never know what's going to happen. So we are going to embrace him, see if that pays off for us. And we're also going to ask about romantic interests. Oh! Well, Jude certainly seems to be interested. We'll say that. A shocking but welcome turn of events. Jude actually asked Les out to go get some dinner this evening. You can see that they did take some time to get dressed and clean up a little bit, get a little bit more polished here. Look at how dapper he looks in his suit and his little vest. I love it. I feel like he's like, hey, can I get your number, by the way? I forgot to ask. They just agreed to meet here after their little meeting at the beach. So Les went home, she kind of gussied herself up. Looks like Jude did the same. And they just decided to meet here. Now this lot, let me just show you really quickly. This is the Brindleton Bay Country Club by Lessie, and I just switched it over to a restaurant lot compared to a lounge because it looks as though it was completely furnished to function as a restaurant. I met all the requirements, which is really, really nice. It's a nice place for your Sims to go and get meals, but you can also hold the potential for different functions here, and there's even like a honeymoon suite is what I'm going to call it. Looks like there's 2 of them. There's a pull-up back and everything. It's a really gorgeous lot, and I thought it would be perfect for their nice formal yet informal first little date. So we're going to go ahead and secure a table. Let's see. Which table do I want them to have though? I want them to have a little bit of privacy, but I also don't want them just kind of stuck in a corner. It's a little bit difficult sometimes. I think we'll just go ahead and request this table right here. It's kind of in a corner and no one else will join them, so hopefully that'll work out great for them. Also, if anyone knows of a mod that will prevent your Sims from constantly pulling out their phone, please let me know, because I've noticed that since high school years came out and since we've gotten the updates, my Sims have been incessantly taking out their phones, whether they're walking, running, talking to another Sim. It's a little bit much, so if there's a mod or something out there, definitely let me know. I would be very, very interested in something like that. So truthfully, because The Sims kind of drives me a little bit nuts, it took them about 2 hours to get their table, so we're really gonna want to try to get through this meal as fast as we can. It looks like these 2 are really enjoying each other's company, but we're gonna go ahead and order for our table. So I think that at this hour, I think Les is just gonna get like either a water or a glass of wine. Ooh, I feel like she's a white wine gal. I really like the idea of the Granite Falls Grappo Blanco. It sounds very, very appealing to me. And as for Jude, I don't know what Jude would actually get. Maybe he's also a white wine fan? I don't know. We'll get him a white nectar blend. Hopefully he enjoys it. And then, since it is the weekend and we are, of course, right near the harbor, I think seafood is exactly what we're going to be getting. I think that Les is going to get the herb-crusted salmon. Remember, that's what she gets at the lobster pound, so she's going to try it here too. She's trying to feel a little bit adventurous. And I believe that Jude here is going to get the blackened bass. That'll be great. So they'll each have a nice little seafood meal. And I think it'll be fresh catch right there, right on the docks. I mean, I can only imagine that this would be delicious and high quality seafood here. You can actually see the lobster pound right in the background there as well. We're literally kind of right up. I can't even say up the road. We're like up on the dock somewhere. But we are going to just flirt with Jude a little bit and get to know him a bit. And I think he's like, well, yeah, I mean, I know you're not from around Brindleton Bay, but, you know, where are you originally from? And she's like, well, I'm originally from Willow Creek. Oh, gotta order first. My apologies. Thank you so much. But she's like, yeah, I'm originally from Willow Creek. It's not too far from here, but it's long enough that a lot of people from Willow Creek haven't traveled out this far. And he's like, yeah, you know, I think I've heard of it in passing. I've never been there myself. What's it like? She's like, well, there's a lot of bayous and there's a lot of history there, a lot of a lot of life, a lot of energy. There's a lot of like roots in blues music and jazz music and stuff, and it's just really eclectic and fun. And he's thinking, well, I mean, yeah, you wear a lot of bright colors. Does that have anything to do with it? And she's like, yeah, actually, it kind of does. I really like kind of boho style clothing and decor, and that's super popular where I came from. He's like, wow, that's really neat. I'll have to kind of look up Willow Creek and see what it's like. She's like, well, where are you from? And he's actually originally from Copperdale, is what we've learned. So it's very similar to Brindleton Bay in a lot of ways. But of course, it's all the way across the country. In theory, of course. But in theory, it's all the way across the country. And she's like, wow, well, what led you out here? Why are you living in like an old refurbished lighthouse shack near the beach in Brindleton Bay? And he's like, well, you know, I really enjoyed where I grew up, but it was very cliquey, and the business there, the main source of business is mining, and it just really didn't interest me. So I wanted to kind of come out here to seek a little bit more solitude and just kind of see where life took me. And he actually, though he's a waiter at the Lobster Pound, he also crafts wood furniture. So he is a woodsmith. Is that it? A woodsman? Yes, it's one of those. He's one of those. So that's what he kind of does, not really in his free time. I would say that that's probably his main source of income. The Lobster Pound is really just supplemental, and it gives him a chance to get to know people within Brindleton Bay and, I don't know, just kind of get out and socialize a bit, because he's actually a loner as well. I mean, these two loners are probably going to get along really, really well. Les had an absolutely wonderful evening yesterday evening. Her and Jude were out until like 3 o'clock in the morning, just talking by that fire pit, but not only talking. They also shared their very first kiss. It seems as though they were just magnets. They were just very much attracted to one another, though at the same time, it seems as though that Les also received some sentiments about Jude. So we're going to check those out. And the big reveal here is that Jude is actually now her boyfriend. I am thrilled with this latest update, because as they were talking around the fire pit and things were getting a little bit flirty here, Jude autonomously asked Lessie to be his girlfriend, and she agreed. She didn't want to say no, because she finds herself extremely attracted to Jude. She really enjoyed his company, and she's like, you know what? Why not see where this goes? Why not? Why not just see how this goes? So they are exclusively dating. They are, of course, they perceive each other as like extremely attractive, but they also have this opposite attracted sentiment, which is an enamored sentiment. Opposites attract. Lessie has romantic feelings for Jude, even though they are very different Sims. Now, we did also learn that Jude is sexually oriented towards women. That is his sexual orientation. He is also kind of exploring, like there's romantic exploration. Now, I don't know if this necessarily refers to his preferences or orientation, or if this is more so pertaining to his desire for a relationship, but clearly he made that very apparent that he wanted to be in a relationship with Les. We also, of course, know about his career here, and we know that he likes the color brown. That's about all we know. But he is a loner, he is a maker, and there's one more trait that we have to discover about Jude as well. But they really, really hit it off last night, and Les is like, well, that happened fast, but I'm excited to see where it goes. Now, today she wouldn't normally be working, but she hasn't been working too many shifts. She just have to pay the bills, and she's kind of getting low on funds, so she's going to be going into work today. And before we even go to work, it is Pride Day as well in game. So what we're going to do is, I think we're going to get together with Tiana today, and that doesn't necessarily have to do with Pride Day, but I just wanted to acknowledge it absolutely is a holiday that I have in my game, and I want Les to partake in some of these traditions. But I think we're going to work a shift at the hospital. It's not going to be a full shift, but once we do that, I think we're going to make some plans with Tiani a little bit later in the evening, and just kind of revisit where we left things off. We want to see if we can kind of work through why they ended up drifting apart in the first place. They know how it happened, but they kind of still need to explore the why, and Les really wants to know why Tiani didn't try to reach out to her after some, I don't know, long period of time. Les seems to project a lot of blame, I think, onto Tiani for not reaching out to her after some time had passed, even though, of course, Les subconsciously acknowledges that she could have done the same, but she kind of wants to work through that a little bit with Tiani since she's in town. Les met up with Tiani down at the Lobster Pound because, well, this is one of her favorite places and Tiani hasn't really explored too much of Brindleton Bay, but these two seem to be having a lovely time with one another. Tiani's just saying, Les, I'm so excited. I'm so glad I looked you up. You know, I'm really, really happy that we were able to reconnect and get together while I'm here because I'm only going to be here for maybe like a couple of weeks or something like that. I'm not sure how long the assignment's going to be. And Les just says in response, T, I'm also really, really happy that we reconnected, but I really wanted to ask you, you know, why didn't you reach out to me after what happened? And I think that Tiana, which you can see that they kind of fell right back in line with calling each other by their nicknames, which I think is really sweet. T was just kind of like, Les, I didn't know what to do. You know, we were so young. I knew you needed space. I knew you needed some time to process what happened, but I just didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to approach you, and I didn't want you to feel as though I was trying to kind of like invade your space or that I was forcing you to talk about something. Oh, yeah, sure, we like backyard music that you didn't want to talk about. Les is like, it kind of really hurt my feelings that you did that, though, because now we haven't spoken in years, and I was trying to kind of isolate myself because I didn't want to be a burden on anybody. And Tiana's just thinking, Les, why would you think that? Don't think that at all. You know, you went through something absolutely awful, and I knew you needed support. I didn't know how to give it to you. So it would seem as though these ladies, I was going to say these girls, they are women, they are grown women, but it looks as though these two friends are trying to really work through these, I guess you can say, problems. Trying to work through these problems, trying to talk through what happened and why they've been so distant for so long. And Tiana's just thinking, Les, I just didn't know what to do. And now you're probably wondering, what the heck happened? What happened to Les that resulted in these two no longer being friends, that resulted in their years of not speaking to one another and something that was so traumatic for her? Well, we're going to learn a little bit about that in the next episode, so definitely hold tight to that thought. Les and Tiani decided to have a little bit of a slumber party. They're feeling very nostalgic, of course, with reconnecting. They used to stay at each other's homes all the time when they were in high school. I mean, quite literally inseparable. Whether it was a pillow fight, I don't know where they're going, but they would have a sleepover at Les's one night, and then they would have a sleepover at Tiani's the next night, you know, stuff like that. It was constant throughout the week. It was every single weekend, unless, of course, they were participating in, like, sports or something like that. I think Tiani was really into sports. Les was more of a creative being, I think. But I think they're gonna have a pillow fight, which is super cute. I haven't seen this in game yet. It looks like they still got it. She's like, T, you still hit way too hard. She's like, Les, you're still a weakling. You gotta hit harder. You gotta aim for the weak spot, girl. You can't just hit willy-nilly. I just had to pause really quick because with Social Bunny, again, I know that all of the messages they're not necessarily related to what's going on with your Sims, but I thought it was really cute that Les woke up this morning. It seems that Jude had a very, very early morning this morning, which he typically does because he's also an avid fisherman, something else we learned. So he gets up really early to go fish and provide some of the fresh catch to some of the local restaurants. Anyway, he was up super early and he texted Les, hey bestie, hope you're having an excellent day. And that is very on brand for him. We're going to respond with this little heart eye freezer bunny. And then I think we're going to message him as well. And we're going to do a little bit of a flirty message. let me take you to Plum Bite here. I got a seat on the cuddle carts reserved just for you. These are very Copperdale specific, so we're just gonna say that Les was getting a little bit flirty and she's just like, hey, let me know when you're available and we can get together again really soon. I think that's what we're gonna stick with. So it is Tuesday. Les does not have work today. I feel like every time that we check in with her, she doesn't actually have an active shift at work. I don't know what that's all about. I think she works. Actually, let's check her schedule really quick. So she works almost every other day. That's probably why. So she does work tomorrow and Thursday, but she doesn't work Fridays, Sundays, or Tuesdays, which is kind of wild. Actually, it's kind of a nice schedule. I really like that. So I think what we'll do is we will actually head to the park that we were at last episode. And I think Les wants to get her hands dirty. She doesn't really feel confident in starting a garden in her little yard, especially on the dock. She just doesn't know if it's going to be super successful. So we're going to take our lack of gardening expertise and we're going to go to the community garden to see if we can get our hands dirty. There were plenty of gardening plots for Les to start gardening. We just got, Jude just responded to our message. I was like, we just got another message, but it looks like Jude just responded. But yeah, there were plenty of little garden beds for her to start getting into gardening a little tiny bit. And we've got, I can't even remember anymore. And I have the headline effects off. I think we've got spinach and carrots, an apple tree. We've got some grapes. We have sage and a plantain tree. We have a lot going on here, and I want her to plant all of this and continue to check in on the community garden. Now, this is really nice because a lot of these other little gardening pots here, we could water them to help them grow. These are just for show here, but there was plenty of opportunities for Les to start planting her own things. There's even the vertical planters over here, so maybe we'll dabble in that at some point, but not at the moment. But yeah, she's just going to go ahead and try to plant as many things as she possibly can here. She might spend the next few hours here. That would be a really peaceful way for her to enjoy the beginning of her day off. Oh, and Tiani's calling us. You won't believe it. Hideki Takahashi is such a sweetheart. I'm in love. Oh, congrats. It seems as though we're starting to get a little bit more into our regular, what we know as familiar friend communication here, because Tiani felt comfortable sharing an escapade with us. How invigorating. Les actually hasn't even mentioned Jude yet to Tiani, because I think even though things are going really well and they are certainly reconnecting, they're spending a lot of time together, they're having a great time. Though they spoke about their fallout, I think Les is still just trying to play it safe, I suppose. She doesn't really know why she's doing that. She wants to just fall right back into this friendship with Tiani, and Tiani hasn't given her a reason to think that it wouldn't work out or be really nice. It's just she's worried about getting hurt again, and she knows that that's kind of her own thing to process and deal with, but she's certainly trying to work through it, and she has no idea, with Tiani only being here temporarily, not knowing if their friendship is going to evolve from here. She's not really thinking about introducing Tiani to Jude. I mean, her relationship with Jude is also so new, and that's pretty much where we're finding ourselves right now. She's just in some new relationships, but some familiar relationships as well, and they both feel just very, not uncertain in a bad way, but just completely unpredictable. We don't know where they're going, and that leaves Les feeling a little unsettled and not really knowing what to do. That's what I'm trying to articulate. She doesn't really know what to do about all of it, so we are going to let her continue to plant here. She's got like 1 or 2 more things to plant. We'll water everything before we leave, and then we'll just head home for a nice quiet evening. And tomorrow's Ice Cream Palooza. Oh, that's actually really exciting. Ice Cream Palooza's coming up. Maybe she can go and get a free scoop or something with Jude tomorrow. That might be a nice little date. After some nice gardening, Les has returned home and gotten comfy for the rest of the day. It's a little bit warm, so she got in her PJs, but she might really want to consider getting some air conditioning. Anyway, she opened up her unfinished journal. Now, this is her starting to try to process everything. It'll lead right into our next episode, but she is going to take up journaling again, and I really hope it's a transformative experience for her because she is trying to work through this great reignition, if that's even a word, of this beautiful friendship that completely kind of went awry, that dissipated. I think it's a struggle for Les to process that it's kind of reemerged. And then she also has this new relationship with Jude that she doesn't know where it's going to go yet, but we're also going to learn that there's a different reason as to why Les is here than just a job opportunity. There's a reason as to why she left Willow Creek in the first place. And it's the exact same reason, well, I'd say it's tied to the reason as to why her and Tiani ended up drifting apart in the first place. So that is where I will leave things. I hope you all enjoyed this episode. I cannot wait to hear your thoughts, and I will catch you next time I post a video. Bye.